Hello and welcome back to Continental Club, where we discuss the hottest topics in European football. We are back in the studio today because these guys are off to Portsmouth tomorrow.
Yes.
To interview, maybe you can't say, can you say?
Don't know.
A loanee from a Premier League club who plays up front. So we'll let people figure that out in the comments below. Is that all right?
Yeah. That is. It's a nice teaser. It's a nice teaser.
Yeah.
How are we doing otherwise?
Away completely,
I just want to say, what's funny is his former manager. I know I'm the only one who thinks this is funny. His former manager was Jose Mourinho, and he's currently being managed by John Mousinho. And I just think the English.
There's a nice symmetry there.
There is a nice symmetry to it. Apparently, he's a bit of a Football League legend, but yeah, what a great name that I've not come across.
Love it.
Yeah,
love it. McCubs, you looking forward to that trip to Portsmouth?
Yeah, love it. Yeah, very much so. Yeah, I'm hoping. I don't know where it will be, but I would love to see a bit of Fratton Park. I've never been to Fratton Park, so.
Oh yeah, I remember Copper 90 did a Derby Days.
Yeah, that was really good.
Which was really good actually. Go check that out after you've watched this, of course, because we've got a bumper show lined up for you today. We are going to rank, the most underrated transfers of the season, and you guys replied in your droves on Twitter. There's about 250 in the end, I believe. And with this point of the season, I think it's a good point to get a bit reflective and reflect on some players that we didn't expect to have the impact they have so far this season. And Henry, I think the suggestion from Coolers United of Randal, Kolo, Muani is an excellent one.
Absolutely. I mean, is he underrated? I feel like it's well known how good he is now. I certainly think his appearances in the World Cup have bolstered his reputation even more. Yes, he didn't score at the very end, but I mean, it's one of the greatest saves probably you'll ever see. I mean, just saddens me to say
the World Cup final, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it can only be a great save if it was quite a good effort on goal. It's not like he completely spooned at him. Like it was an amazing one with his left
hard.
foot.
Yeah, it was super impressive. And if you consider the pressure he was under, being thrown into the deep end at that moment in time, not much international experience going into that. Yeah, he's been remarkable. But yeah, we talked about Kolo Muani before in the sense that he was good at Nantes last season. He was very impressive for Nantes, and actually Eintracht got him on an excellent free transfer. It really, that's what's remarkable about it, is that no other big side came in for him for free. I doubt he's even on like mega wages at the German side. And yeah, he's just gone from strength to strength this season. Only 7 players in Europe can top his 22 combined goals and assists, and that's also the most in the Bundesliga. Füllkrug is the only other player to contribute over 20. So yeah, I mean, and he's a joy to watch, really, isn't he? He's tall, he's powerful, he back to wall, he's got good hold-up play, he's also aggressive and quick, and some of the goals that he's scored, the variety is what's really remarkable about him. He's not just sort of a poacher in the box. He's kind of got it all, really. I mean, 0.51 expected goals per 90. That's 13th in the league. He's very creative, and he gets involved with the other players. I mean, what's good about being an Eintracht is that I don't think there's almost this kind of individuality, star mentality in that side. You've got Jesper Lindstrom, Daichi Kamada. They all sort of pull together. I mean, Oliver Glasner, very, very good coach, getting linked with a lot of big teams at the moment.
Chelsea.
He seems really good at sort of forging a great identity in a team, and Eintracht keep going from strength to strength every season. I mean, they have to be going for Champions League football this term to kind of maintain their momentum. But yeah, but Randal Kolo Muani is very much part of that. And what's fascinating is that they could sell him, but I don't think they necessarily have to, because his contract, obviously his value is very high at the moment, but with only 1 year into what is a long-term deal, Eintracht they're sitting quite pretty with this guy up front at the moment. I'll be really intrigued to see actually next season if he can maintain his level. He's on a 5-year deal there, so if he's proving that he can continue to do this next year, that's when I'm going to be even more excited about this transfer. But yeah, I think they work wonders to get him in. He's brilliant, he's young, and he's exactly what most of the clubs in Europe are desperate for right now. So yeah, what a great transfer he's been.
Yeah. I think also as well, compared to other strikers in Europe, he does have that creative side of his game, like you were saying. That's what's really improved. And I think, again, like, you know, with Lindstrom and Kamada, I think it's just a great example of how, you know, if you can find a striker, if they're a good fit in your side, then they can become, you know, a completely different player, or they can evolve as a player. And I think, you know, when you compare a lot of the other number 9s on the market, you know, say Osimhen, who's obviously, you know, step above, or like Vlahovic, in terms of like their profile, a lot bigger, but a lot of those strikers are, you know, they're kind of target man strikers, or at least kind of penalty box strikers. Whereas like Muani, I think, offers, you know, in some ways is, you know, more clubs should be looking at him because he he offers a lot more in that sense. He could offer, he could be adaptable, I guess, to more different kinds of attacking systems.
It's really smart because at Nantes he had Moises Simon and Ludovic Blas around him, who are two pretty impressive creative players. So Eintracht really did cherry pick exactly the perfect kind of guy that could fit into their structure already and make a difference. So it's just really smart recruitment and scouting all round.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they never tend to spend a lot of money on individual players, so that's why I'm slightly thinking, if someone comes in this summer and offers, say, £70 million, which is not insurmountable to imagine given the clubs that are in the market, like we talked about last week on Continental Club, for a striker. You could see someone potentially offering that much. And then do they risk keeping him for another couple of years when his form might dip, he might get injured? That's not to say that I expect that to happen, but maybe now is the perfect time to sell him.
And they have history with that, right? With Jovic and Haller. I know Haller's recovered his career now, but they sold them both, and both players took a big dip at the subsequent clubs. So going by that, you wouldn't be surprised to see them to see him sold, I guess.
Absolutely right. That was Randal, Kolo, Muani. I think it'll be quite top of our ranking. We will actually try and rank them this week, actually, because we always get a bit distracted. Anyway, let's move on to Niklas Sule. This came in from Aliyah Hashimi 139, McCubs. Actually, there was a few good options at Dortmund in terms of their defensive options, in terms of underrated signings potentially. But have you been impressed with Sule generally?
Yeah, struggled at the start of the season. Obviously, Dortmund were far from their best. Those same defensive problems were kind of still there. And that has as much to do with the kind of midfield as it does the back line. But I think Sule and Schlotterbeck both struggled a little bit. Also struggled at the World Cup, didn't they? But since the turn of the year, obviously Dortmund's form has been great, aside from that drubbing on the weekend from Bayern, which wasn't wholly unexpected. I think Bayern still went into that as favourites. Dortmund's form has been great, and there's been a lot has been said about the attack, but the defence has also improved a lot as well. 35 league goals conceded this season is far from disastrous, and the bulk of that was pre-World Cup. I think both him and Schlotterbeck have looked a lot better, and I don't know how underrated this is insofar as we kind of had it as one of our signings of the summer last year, didn't we? But I think maybe what we didn't appreciate was that revamping your back line does take a bit of time. You can't just expect two new centre-backs to come in and instantly gel. So I think Sule will prove to be a more astute signing in the long term, especially, the fact that he arrived on a free, the fact that, this Dortmund defence is kind of slowly improving. But Schlotterbeck, we have to give a shout out to as well. Obviously was excellent at Freiburg last year. He ranks first at Dortmund for interceptions, ranks second for tackles, ranks first for aerial wins. We always kind of knew he was going to be the all-action kind of defender. That was also a bit of a worry at Freiburg, in that he had quite a established kind of backline that he was playing in, where he was able to come out and be a little bit adventurous, be quite aggressive at points. But Sule kind of provides that foil for him as well. So I think them, getting to know each other's game has been a positive at Dortmund this season, and even if they don't win the league, they've got that foundation, which I think was disrupted in seasons before, wasn't it, with kind of the injury records of Akanji, of Zagadou. I think in the long term, I think those two signings are fantastic. Compared to someone like, I think another great shout in terms of defensive signing from Andreas Christensen. I think in some ways he's had a more profound effect, this season at least, in terms of Barcelona just having by far the best defensive record in Spain, which is pretty mad given that Barca's defence has been a bit of a problem for a few years now up until this season. And I know he's not necessarily, he had a few games out injured, 12 games in fact, but since the turn of the year he's been pretty much ever present. And I think we always kind of rated the transfer, but at the same time he had a bit of a stop-start time to his career at Chelsea, hadn't he? He was far from the ultimate safe bet in a way that, say, Sule and Schlotterbeck maybe were more so, especially Sule playing in a Champions League winning team, Schlotterbeck, the up-and-coming talent of German football. Like Christensen was, in Schlotterbeck's position a few years ago, but yeah, there was always a chance that that wouldn't work out. But stylistically, he always looked good for Barcelona, and I think maybe something that was a bit underrated last summer, because I think Barcelona's business rightly came in for criticism, given the levers, given the financial restraints that they're under, given the fact that they're still in a lot of they're still kind of in muddy water over their financial future. Actually, they really did do the work that they needed to do in defence. A lot of their attacking signings, you can argue, that weren't the most necessary, but in defence, they really did do. They really did sign the right players. Like Koundé's been really good for them this season too. So I really like Christensen as a shout in this episode.
I will say, I do think it's telling. To only concede 9 goals all season is remarkable thus far. I do think it's telling that Christensen is performing much better in what I would say is a less arduous league for a centre half to be in, and that's seen from the rate of goals scored in La Liga. I think the fact that in Europe they've been shown up considerably at times is more of a damning reflection. It's more of a reality check about that defence. It's amazing domestically, but I still think that someone like Christensen doesn't necessarily always hold up against the best in the game. And I think Chelsea would have maybe paid out for the salary that he was asking for. We're talking about pre-Chelsea, when they're actually sort of smartly run than what we've seen so far. So yeah, I have my reservations about how much of an impact Christensen has truly made.
I mean, La Liga hasn't suddenly changed in a year though, right? Like, that Barca defence was a lot leakier last year than it has been this year. But yeah, no, for sure. Like, I think La Liga probably suits him more, for sure. Like, you're not getting pressed anywhere near as much. If you're a ball playing centre back as Christensen is, then it's a much more favourable league to be in.
It's a great signing for him and for Barcelona. I just don't think people should be rushing to say, oh, Christensen was great all along. I don't think that's necessarily the case. I just think that he's a good fit in a league where he's able to be himself a bit more. I don't think that makes him an elite centre half.
Yeah, I do remember last summer we were much more excited about Rudiger going to Real Madrid, and you've got to say that Christensen has had by far the better season.
Rudiger's not been allowed to play he's not been allowed to be the same guy, because he's in a back four where he's not allowed to work.
But Christensen, people said, was a back three defender as well, and I think he's been really good. And Barcelona,
I think Rudiger was overrated as hell at Chelsea as well. Like, in my personal opinion,
I think he was very good at Chelsea, to be fair, at least in the last year and a half. But yeah, Barcelona are on track to potentially break the European record, which I believe is 14. And Chelsea's got the best in English football history with 15. I think Atletico Madrid's got the best in Spanish football history with 18. So they're easily on track to break that. So yeah, fair play to them. Let's move on to THFC Comps' suggestion of Enzo Fernandez to Benfica. Now, I think this is probably the best one, to be honest, given that they only spent 10 million euros on him in the summer. There was a sell-on clause to River Plate, which Chelsea obviously ended up paying a lot of money to, when they paid a British transfer record fee on the 22-year-old, £106.8 million in January 2023, and he signed up for the next decade and a half. Obviously had a brilliant World Cup as well, was excellent for Argentina after Scaloni sort of chopped and changed his side quite regularly during the group stage. He really established himself in that midfield, and he was excellent, named Young Player of the Tournament, deservedly so. I don't think he's been bad at Chelsea by any means, but does he look like a £106 million player? Should that money ever be spent on a central midfielder? Probably not. I think we probably should have learned that with the Paul Pogba situation as well. I just don't think you can ever get the return that money would ever, that you demand really for that sort of fee. But Benfica, to make that sort of amount of profit on him in 6 months, it's got to be right up there.
And still be good, by the way.
And still be good. Yeah. I mean, he didn't lose in a Benfica shirt. I think they lost once in a Benfica shirt, just as that deal was being decided. But yeah, still only lost one game this season. It's remarkable.
Yeah, I mean, and now they arguably are favourites to beat Inter Milan to get into the Champions League semi-final, and who knows what could happen. So yeah, it's stunning.
Yeah, absolutely. Another one I thought was a very good shout was Paulo Dybala from NYC Juventus. Obviously signed on a free for Roma last summer from Juventus. He's missed 11 games with injury, which shouldn't be forgotten, but when he's been fit, I think he has been probably one of the most underrated players in Europe, really. I don't think I've seen enough praise for him this season. It's a bit like Antoine Griezmann, who we were talking about last year. He is just an exceptional footballer, and when he's at full fitness, when he's got a team built around him that suits his style, he's really carried a Roma Champions League challenge in terms of attacking returns, because Lorenzo Pellegrini and Tammy Abraham haven't been as good as last year. I mean, 10 goals and 6 assists in 21 league games, 4 goal contributions in 7 Europa League games. It's really pretty special stuff. And 0.41 expected assists per 90 in Serie A this season is the best record in Italy by a distance.
Just something I think that makes this transfer even better is that Juventus gave Pogba the shirt and the contract which Dybala wanted. Dybala's taken a pay cut to go to Roma, and meanwhile, Pogba's paid like 35 minutes.
I was going to say, yeah, what is it?
He's cost
50 minutes, something like that.
He's cost something like €8 million for his salary so far, and Dybala's just gone on to be arguably one of the MVPs of the entire division this season. Yeah. I mean, he's certainly in the team of the year, whether or not. You're right.
I mean, if it wasn't for Napoli strolling the league and Osimhen or Kvaratskhelia going to win MVP, I think it'd be Dybala, and I think it'd be deservedly given to him. For sure.
There's obviously the question mark now over Roma. Are they going to? Because there's this clause in his contract, right? This €12 million release clause if a foreign club plays that. But apparently, if Roma up his salary from something like 3.8 million to 6 million, that then voids that.
Well done him. He has negotiated this very well.
Yeah. So I mean,
he has to agree to leave Roma.
Okay, that's true, but you know. Yeah, that is true. Like, I mean, he did stick around at Juve for a bit too long, didn't he? But nevertheless, it's a good bargaining position to be in if a club comes in, because I mean, yeah, his stock is, because also, like, you know, the last 3 seasons at Juve, his stock really dropped, didn't it? Like, I mean, given that he was, given that he was really, it was kind of him and Sterling really at one point were the two, you know, best, you know, most promising young players in Europe. Now, like, you know, he's really kind of rebuilt his image, and you know, at a club that obviously adores him, or adored him from the word go. So
yeah, ever since that sort of, what's it called when you're revealed
announcement
exactly in that square, unveiling is the word I was looking for, in Rome. It's felt like a match made in heaven. Right, Henry, there's loads of people down here. Who do you want to talk about?
I'll go for a few just to stick in Italy quickly. I like Kula's United suggestion of Alessio Romagnoli. I think he was quite maligned at the end of his AC Milan time, in many ways rightly so. Although he was club captain, he did carry that wealth of experience and leadership qualities which a lot of clubs are looking for. And Lazio, they got him on a free, and he's been brilliant for them. I mean, what they've achieved this season has largely gone sort of under the radar at moments. They're second in Serie A at the time of recording, and they've got one of the best defensive records in Europe, certainly the best in Italy at the moment. I think by expected goals against, it's Roma's, but in reality, it's Lazio's. And, you know, Sarri,
reality.
Yeah. I mean, what Sarri's done is quite interesting, because they haven't. Immobile has been quite tired this season, and he's shifted around that forward line. He's got the best out of Zaccagni. He's even got the Brazilian guy up front called
Felipe Anderson.
A recent stat
came up in our stat wars. I'm surprised you forgot.
Oh, how could I forget? Well, forgetting twice, it turns out. But yeah, he's been moved into more of a attacking midfield role. So it's very interesting what he's done on that side. He's made them just really defensively astute. They dominate their half of the pitch, and Romagnoli's been part of that. I mean, 33 appearances in all competitions for Lazio. And and it looks like they're on course to qualify for the Champions League. I didn't realise they did it so recently in 2020, but yeah, what an achievement for them, and they can sort of press on in the summer. Really like that. I think Akanji, but BM, Cheeks as well. I think a lot of people thought he'd almost be filler in that back line, but in the weird Guardiola fashion, he's just decided to sort of bin off centre halves who've been good in previous seasons. I mean,
it's all about Ake and Akanji.
Yeah, Ake, Akanji, and even Stone sort of fits into that. Diaz and Laporte, he's surely got to be pushing for a move in the summer.
Saw PSG.
The thing is with Akanji, it's just mad that it took, one of the 2 best teams in Europe to come in for him last summer, and relatively late as well. Sorry,
who was the second one?
What do you mean?
I thought you said the 2 best teams.
Oh no. So what? Sorry, one of the 2. One of the 2 best teams.
Sorry, I think there was a dog fight. Who else was in?
But it's like Akanji was like there for the taking from any kind of Europa League to Champions League club, and I feel like his injury record just put so many clubs off, and his injury record at City has been pretty good this season. I mean, he's played the most league minutes of any centre back, so yeah, like I remember like touting him for Newcastle for like the entirety of last summer. Nothing really you know,
they weren't listening to
they weren't listening to
your scout report.
But I am amazed that he ends up going to City. And to be fair, I think that is the kind of defines a kind of underrated transfer in some way, because I just didn't think he was quite at that level anymore. I kind of thought, fitness issues would be telling, but yeah, like fair play. The recruitment team at City got it spot on.
I think personality-wise, having seen him in interviews, he's exactly what Guardiola likes. He's sort of a quiet, very intelligent guy, very professional, and he's just slotted straight into that team.
Can't imagine him kicking up a fuss.
No, absolutely not. He's like I said, I think he's known as like the professor or something like that. So
really,
yeah, he's
and
really,
and
really
those
cool.
kind of qualities as well are something that's underrated when it comes to like transfers, isn't it? We always pour over kind of stats data, and like, you know, the eye test and all of that stuff, but like, as you know, especially as kind of the glory days of Liverpool's recruitment under Klopp, like it, you know, character and, you know, how they're going to fit into the dressing room is
leadership,
is massive. And like you were saying there, like that may have been a defining reason why they signed it.
Yeah, just quickly before I think we go back to like European players to honour our Continental Club status. Thank you very much at Sport and Trance for João Palhinha recommendation. I mean, 20 million. He's unbelievable. I love this guy to bits. He's an absolute crusher. He's some of his interceptions this year have been remarkable. I think Fulham have suffered without him, and although I think we'll be able to maybe hold on to him, he's definitely destined for a bigger side. Played for Portugal recently. His qualities are so good. I can't believe that Sporting sold Mateus Nunes for like 50 million and sold him for 20 million. He's obviously a bit older, but you can see that Nunes has suffered without him at Wolves. He's so good. I love that suggestion. But yeah, maybe not.
He has got a lot of credit now, which is the one reason I put him at the bottom of the list, because it's not like super underrated, but fair enough. It's worth a shout. McCubs, who do you want to say? There's quite a few down here.
There's a few down here, like Ademola Lookman. I think we've always been waiting for him to explode. Finally done so at Atalanta. I mean, not overly surprising. Atalanta have always, you know, Gasperini has, you know, is one of the modern masters of extracting maximum output from attackers, and he's at a great age now. But yeah, I mean, for 15 million euros from Leipzig, like a great transfer, and probably one. So this comes in from @JoeLFC, by the way, just to give you credit. But I guess another one that, like, last year, you know, maybe went under the radar a little bit, just because I guess we've been kind of disappointed in his kind of post-Everton career thus far. Although he was decent at Leicester, just didn't really get enough game time to really blossom. And Lois Openda, I think, from @DPH51234. You know, another great recruit from the Belgian Pro League, isn't he? Like, I mean, 9.8 million euros from Club Brugge last year. He'd scored 28 goals on loan at Vitesse. And this season he's just been great. I mean, scored a 5-minute hat-trick the other week against Clermont Foot. And in that, you know, you really saw kind of every part of his game, like his finishing from the angle was great through the keeper's legs, and then the second goal, you know, it looks fairly easy, but the run he makes is perfect, and then he slots it home with his left really nicely, and then the third goal just like makes, you know, from kickoff, you know, anticipates the defender's mistake and then takes it around the keeper, and then finishes from the angle as well. So yeah, like in terms of, like, you know, proper goal scorers, he's right up there in France this season, and it could be, I don't know, it'll be interesting to see how he develops, but like so far his scoring record is just insane. He just looks like a really natural striker. His movement is really intelligent. His kind of I don't know, he's quite skillful as well. He can take up positions in wide areas too. So yeah, I'll be really interested to see how he develops, whether, you know, a kind of mid-level club will come in for him. But like, I mean, yeah, he's been great for Lens, who now look you know, pretty well, they look, well, I say confident, obviously the competition's pretty high for Champions League places in Ligue 1, but, you know, they're second at the moment with, you know, less than 2 months of the season remaining. So yeah, amazing season for Lens, and I mean their defense has been great as well. But like without Openda's goals, they wouldn't be up there. Absolutely.
I thought, don't know how to pronounce that Dutch name. It'll be on screen right now. I don't want to do it a disservice, but he suggested Xavi Simons, and this was an interesting one actually, because from what I was reading today, he was initially expected to join PSV on loan, but PSG didn't want to accept that. They'd rather have sold him or let him go on a free transfer and then inserted a buyback option for this summer of 12 million euros into his contract. It'll be interesting to see whether PSG go for that, because in the last few weeks, it looks like, there's going to be a lot of turnover at PSG this summer, and Xavi Simons, he's proven himself now, in my opinion. PSV are obviously third, they're 8 points behind Feyenoord, but I think I saw, particularly in those games against Arsenal, which I really tuned in for to see Cody Gakpo when he was still at PSV, But it was actually Xavi Simons that caught my eye more, to be honest. I thought he was absolutely sensational on that night. I think it was Kieran Tierney playing at left back that night and had a really, really difficult evening against him. And as so many defenders in the Eredivisie, 13 goals and 6 assists in 27 league games. That's really, really impressive. Also, shout out Iron Club's suggestion of Kubo. Everyone thought he was kind of maybe one of those sort of wonder kids that wasn't going to quite ever make it. But at Real Sociedad this year, who are obviously a great side, he's been absolutely brilliant. 5 goals and 3 assists in 24 league games for them. Only Sorloth and Bryce Mendes have both 10 have contributed more. And he's been a really, really solid addition. Very fun to watch and actually shown quite a lot of composure in the box at different times this season. And for a guy that was loaned out to a number of clubs over the last few years, it's nice to see him really nailing it at Real Sociedad. McCubs, I don't think it'd be fair to go through this list without mentioning quickly Leandro Trossard. I know we don't want to stick to the Premier League, but I mean, what a signing this has proved out to be.
Yeah, ridiculous. Ridiculous. Given that a lot of Arsenal fans, namely George Wright, were not didn't rate the transfer at all when it went through. But yeah, 7 assists for Arsenal. I mean, I actually did really like this move as a January transfer for Arsenal. I thought he was exactly the kind of strength and depth they needed. I did not think he was going to get 7 assists in 545 minutes. He is such a good fit, and I think I think what was good about the transfer was that he offered something different to Martinelli on the left. But yeah, what I didn't really anticipate was the fact that he was going to be able to play that centre forward role, like he did under Potter at Brighton. To be fair, like he did play really well in that role, but I didn't realise that Arteta had those kind of plans for him as well, and he's just proved to be, like a great utility man in the forward line who actually in the long term will prove really effective for them as well. Like I can see this guy being a really important part of title challenges in the future, no matter what happens this season.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it shows the benefit of signing someone who is experienced in the Premier League and who speaks very good English in January. Like that does just make a big difference. He's been so easy to adapt into that dressing room. We saw that interview with Benjamin White the other day, and he obviously has a friend there already. And I just think he's made such a difference. And I think if Arsenal get over the line, he's got to enter the debate for one of the best January signings in Premier League history, to be honest, alongside the likes of Suarez, Van Dijk, Bruno Fernandes. I'm not saying he'd necessarily be number one, but he's got to be. He's got to be.
I agree with you.
Thank you. Henry's on the right page.
He's right.
Guys, though, we have to,
Suarez,
because we never do this. Let's actually pick out your top 3.
Okay. We also didn't mention Malik Tior. Sorry, but
yes,
didn't get them. But he has been good. I mean, he's not played a huge amount of minutes, but he has been I think long term again a little bit like Schlotterbeck at Dortmund. I think long term he could prove really important to Milan in that he's only 21 years old. I think he's physically he's massive, but he's improving on the ball as well. But has meant that Pioli kind of switched to a back 3 as well for a bit. So he's given them more options there.
I like it. Yeah. Is he in your top 3?
No, he's not in my top 3, but I thought we'd give a shout out to
I think it's worth giving a shout out.
at Hus Nian Kaiser. Sorry if I messed up your name there. Just but top 3, I would say.
Who's ready? Is anyone ready? Henry?
I think the buyback clause for Xavi Simons makes it tricky to put him in. At number 3, I'm going to put Romagnoli because I think just
fair enough.
Free transfers go there. Number 2, I'm going to go for Enzo Fernandez. Because I feel like the Kolo Muani deal, it's been talked about. I'm struggling now. But no, you're right. I think to buy someone for 10 million euros and sell them 6 months later for 108 million pounds is remarkable, and to still be pretty decent the other end of it, that's well done to Benfica. It's great. But I'm actually going to go Lewis Openda at number 1. I know a lot of people can be like, that's like a hipster decision. But if you're Lens and you've spent 9.8 million euros, which is a big deal for a club like Lens, if you've spent that on a guy who had a great scoring record, but it's still a chance taken by that side. If they go and get Champions League football, who knows? Maybe even chase PSG down the rate that they're going. if they get Champions League football and that puts them on the path to really go and grow in the summer even more, then I think that is a transformative signing, and for someone that none of us really knew all that much about. Because we've seen some players come out of the Dutch league and not been great. I mean, what was it? Giacomakis went to Celtic. He's now gone somewhere else. What, 3 million? It's not as if it's
at Brighton.
It's, exactly.
He's my classic.
It's not a done deal to get a decent Dutch player. Player playing in the Dutch division. Sorry, and I know he's playing for Club Brugge, but he was at the test where he really excelled. So yes. I think that could be a transformative signing, which for 9.8 million euros for a club of Lons' side, I think that for me makes it the most underrated.
I like it. You make a very good case, McCubs.
Yeah, I'm kind of I was also veering towards Openda. Yeah, I just think, I mean, yeah, like 15 goals in Ligue 1. Again for a player who wasn't being spoken about an awful lot last summer. Actually think he should have played more for Belgium at the World Cup. Personally, I think they may have got out of that group. But yeah, I think him. I think, who else was I thinking about? I think Muani as well. Like a lot of people weren't speaking about him last year, and he's proved to be one of the best attackers in Europe. So I'll go for those two, and then. I don't know.
Slightly dipped.
I will say. I'll say Christensen. I'll go Christensen third. I'll go Muani third, Christensen second, and Openda first.
I like it. I'm actually not going to include any of the Premier League ones just because this is Continental Club. But Trossard would probably be my top, to be totally honest. I think if I kind of agree with Henry's reasoning on Enzo Fernandez, he'd be my one. I'm going to go with Dybala in second. And I'm going to go with Xavi Simons at third. I'm just really pleased that he's bounced back from what was quite a difficult spell at PSG and has really smashed it. But guys, we want to know about your underrated transfers of the season. How would you put your top three in that ranking? I'm sure we missed loads out as well, so get them in the comments down below. And let's move on to our big match predictions. Okay, the show rolls on. It's big match predictions time. Let's review what happened last week. Bayern Munich versus Dortmund. Henry and me being absolute fools to not Bayern Munich. McCubs did. He went 3-2 to Bayern. The result was 4-2 to Bayern. Could have done with that extra point.
Yeah, really could have done with that extra point. I would have had 3 points more than, but yeah. So I'll take it.
You could absolutely. I mean, you should absolutely take it. So 1 point to McCubs there. Napoli versus AC Milan. Who saw that coming? Not us. We all backed Napoli. No, sorry, Henry went for a 2-2 draw. It was 4-0 to Milan. With Rafa Leao and Alexis Salamakers in particular.
Salamakers in that second half.
Scoring amazing goals.
It's unreal.
Scoring an amazing goal, rather, I should say. No points to us there. Atletico Madrid versus Real Betis. McCubs went 1-1. Henry went 3-1 at Atleti. I went 2-0 at Atleti. It was 1-0 to Atleti. They, reverted to their sort of more boring self in that game, let's say. But that's just 1 point to myself and Henry. So no change on the scores, guys. 1 point each. I'm on 52. Henry's on 38. And McCubs is on 36. Now, we've got some interesting games this weekend, I believe. Bayer Leverkusen versus Eintracht Frankfurt is Saturday, 2:30 p.m. It's 7th versus 6th. There's just 1 point between them. So at the moment, they are competing for the final European spot in the Bundesliga. McCubs, Bayer Leverkusen's form has just been absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, it's been great, hasn't it? Since the World Cup, really. I think up until the weekend, only Dortmund had taken more points than them in the Bundesliga since January. So yeah, I mean, and they've got 4 wins on the bounce now. They're unbeaten in their last 5. And now they've got a real chance of getting European football. And yeah, 7th versus 6th this game. They're facing a Frankfurt side that haven't been in the best of form recently. Yeah, and a lot of this has to do with Florian Wirtz in the last few games. Yeah, he's got a goal and 4 assists in his last 600 league minutes. Their early season struggles had a lot to do with that attack just not functioning as well as it had done previously, and we'd kind of almost forgotten about Wirtz because he'd been out of the game for so long, and there's always that worry that, especially with a young player, are they going to be that same great player when they come back?
He's so dynamic and his acceleration is so good.
Yeah, exactly, and is so kind of his pace is obviously electric, and but he's come back in great form. So happy days for Xabi Alonso. So yeah, I'm tempted to go for a Leverkusen win here. I feel like there's momentum with them. Obviously, that Bayern win before the international break as well. I think they're on a really good run of form, and they're a tough place to go. I mean, I could also see it being a draw. It's a tough one. because a game like this in the Bundesliga is bound to be, end to end.
You're going to go
but
2-2?
I'm going to go. No, I'll go 2-1. I'll go 2-1 to Leverkusen.
To Leverkusen. Fair enough. Henry, you in agreement? What do you reckon?
Yeah, I think this is going to be a great game. There's a lot riding on this for Eintracht Frankfurt. They've been dropping points to their rivals. They've got some big games coming up, Gladbach and Dortmund. So they need to go for this. I'm tempted to go for a bit of an audacious 3-2 in this one.
Ooh.
Not to Eintracht, to Bayer Leverkusen. I think they are in too good of a form at the moment. Or doing well in Europe as well. Still going strong in the Europa League. But I don't have to worry about that just yet. So yeah, I'm going to go for 3-2 to Bayer Leverkusen and bank on that bonus point.
Nice. They've got a good chance in the Europa League as well. I think they play Union Saint-Gilloise. Saint-Gilloise. And then I think they play the winner of Roma versus Feyenoord, I think. Oh no, are they on the same side as Juventus versus Sporting? I'm getting confused now, but they're on the better side of the draw, I seem to remember. So that would be quite exciting if they actually got over the line in a trophy. But to be honest, given the depths that they were in at the start of the season, I think it's just great to see them back in their rightful place, because I think they are one of the most entertaining sides in the division as well. I just love so many of their players. And I saw this week that Jeremy Frimpong's now being linked with Man United. No idea what he'd be like in a back four, to be honest, but has had a brilliant season. 8 goals and 6 assists in 26 league games. His link up with Moussa Diaby, who's playing off the left actually at the weekend, is absolutely exceptional. So yeah, that's a one to keep an eye on for sure. In this game, though, I'm going to go with quite a comfortable Leverkusen win, actually. I wasn't that impressed with Eintracht Frankfurt's finishing against Bochum at the weekend. I'm going to go 2-0 Leverkusen. Right, let's move on to Lazio versus Juventus. 2 form sides in Serie A, actually. Saturday, 7:45, 7th versus 2nd. 11 points between them. Of course, Juventus would be 4 points ahead in second if it wasn't for that deduction, which we keep talking about every week, but it's worth remembering. Because their run has been excellent recently. Henry, how do you see this going?
Yeah, I'm toying between a 0-0 or a 1-0 to Juventus, in all honesty. I do think that they're showing a sort of imperiousness at the moment. Young players coming through. It's very exciting, actually. If I was a Juventus fan, I know, obviously, it's not great them being out of the side of the Champions League spots, but if he's basically gone, well, they've got nothing to lose. If he's blooding through these young players and sort of setting the foundations for what could be quite a bright future for the club, then I don't think that's bad to take a hit on this season whatsoever. And yeah, I still think they, once again, have a great chance of winning the Europa League. I'm going to go for 1-0 to Juventus. I think they're going to just get the better of Lazio. I think they've been pulling off big wins recently, but I wouldn't be surprised if this was a 0-0 either. Nice.
Okay. Fair enough there. Not going for the highest score. McCubs, do you see more goals in this? And if so, who to?
I might just go 2-1 Juve.
Nice.
I might just go 2-1 Juve. Yeah, I just see them winning this game. Got momentum on their side. Yeah.
They do have a couple more injuries than Lazio. Lazio have a clean bill of health, it's worth noting. Juve have Chiesa, Bonucci and Pogba out. Of course, Pogba's out, unfortunately. But Lazio, it feels like they've got a slight benefit amongst those European rivals because they don't have any other European football to focus on. Which is not the story for Milan, Inter, Roma, Juventus. Also, that result of the weekend between Milan and Napoli has made me so much more excited for that tie as well.
Yeah, I agree.
Huge,
it's a huge statement, isn't it?
So that's going to be well worth watching. And that side, with 3 Serie A sides in it, it's just going to be absolutely fascinating. In this game, though, did you guys go for a draw, either of you?
No. Yeah,
I might go for a draw. I might just go for a simple 1-1. Right, let's move on to Nice versus PSG. Saturday, 8 p.m. 8th versus 1st. 21 points between them. Henry, PSG, oh my word. What a shambolic end to a season that promised so much.
Yeah, this is a stinking time for them to face Nice. Yeah. I think this could be difficult because Nice are going to be smelling blood here. I think PSG have had 2 back-to-back home defeats to Rennes and then against Lyon. And Lyon didn't just beat them, they comfortably beat them. I mean, maybe that PSG could argue they should have had a penalty off was it a Lovren handball? But in principle, Lacazette missed the post.
That pen, yeah.
He missed the penalty. People aren't talking about the rebound guy who just spiked. That was even worse.
That went under the radar.
Yeah, it did. It did. Even the highlights chopped him off. But yeah, no, Lyon were really good that game. Was it
I never know how to pronounce his name, but yes.
Yeah, they're new, exciting up front. Shock, Lyon have unearthed another gem.
Yeah.
But yeah, Nice, under Didier Degarde, who I think the Will Steele thing has kind of killed his story so far. He's had 8 wins, 6 draws in 14 games. That's so good. 26 goals, only 8 against. I mean, yeah, they're looking great. I think Terem Moffi, that signing at January was also brilliant. He's been so good. Came in from Lorient. He's been excellent there. Even Aaron Ramsey's playing good football for them. I say even Aaron Ramsey, he's a good player, but he looks
Hasn't
like
been for a while though, has he? Like, let's face it.
It's good to see. It's nice to see him playing at a sort of competent level again, enjoying his football down in Nice. Certainly doing better than what Ross Barkley at the moment. So yeah, I think they're going to really. I think they're going to try and stick the knife in here. PSG just look completely lost at the moment on the pitch. Not much unity. Mbappe's essentially their only hope at the moment. That's not well. You know what I mean. But yeah, I'm going to go for a 2-0 victory to Nice.
I love it. Wow. Fair enough. Yeah, I hadn't actually thought of Ross Barkley for months. Yeah, at Nice. Blimey. What a weird career he's had, considering how promising he was in his early stages at Everton. Anyway, I'm getting off track here, McCubs. Do you also see PSG losing this game?
I'm not sure. I think actually playing away might be a bit of a take the pressure off a little bit. I think the Parc des Princes is not a nice place to be at the moment, given the atmosphere there. Post a Champions League exit, it just happens every year, doesn't it? It just happens every year. They're just baying for blood. Whereas playing away that might be a bit of a relief. So I think I'm gonna go for a PSG win. I'm actually gonna go for a PSG win. I think it will be tight. I'll go 2-1.
Fair enough. Yeah, I actually might think they just might turn it on. They're in such weird form, and Nice have been good, but this feels like a massive test. I actually think it might be 3-1 to PSG, with Mbappe doing the business. But yeah, no Ramos, no Neymar, no Soler, no Mukiele, no Kimpembe, and their backups just haven't been good enough at this point of the season. And to allow the club to go this flat at this point of the season is a really bad reflection on the manager, the director of football, but most of all the players. Like, this happens every year. It feels like their season just collapses after a Champions League exit, and it can't. If you want to be a top club, you've got to learn to deal with disappointment better. I just don't think they do. Anyway, guys, get your predictions for those 3 games in the comments down below, and we hope you have an excellent Easter weekend as well. Enjoy the extended break if you're in a country that celebrates it. But yes, thank you very much for watching Continental Club for today. McCubs, can you think of any great Easter content that's coming out?
Well, there's an Explained coming out tomorrow or Sunday, I believe, on Nigerian football, written by yourself, Dukes, voiced by myself, so a little EFD collaboration there. And there's probably a great Stat Wars episode coming up, in fact.
There's Pat versus Oba.
Yes, to determine who plays Henry here in the relegation playoff. So yeah, pray for a Pat win, by the way, because Oba versus Henry in a relegation playoff might be the best game ever. Yeah. Like, I mean, it might just be the best piece of content we've ever had on this channel. Like,
the regular season meetup was brilliant. Yeah, I absolutely loved it. So yeah, get prepared for that. Henry, you'll be shooting that the week after next, so you're just gonna be revising over the Easter break.
Absolutely. Just to point people to, I think we've got it coming out it came out on Tuesday. It was 10 players who joined the wrong club. When I suggested this, I had loads of Arsenal people being like, Mudryk. And yeah, it does feature one player who turned down Arsenal infamously last January. Also, like Ekatike's agent saying that he had reservations over the Newcastle project, and then going to PSG. I included that one too. So yeah,
that's a good shout.
Go check out that one, because actually really enjoyed writing that one.
Oh, excellent. Love a little shout for a 10 every now and again. Guys, go check out that content. Have a great weekend, as I said earlier, and we'll catch you next week. Bye-bye.